The cathedral smelled of roses and rain. Benjamin Cross stood at the altar in his tailored tuxedo, hands clasped behind his back to hide their trembling. 200 of Manhattan's most powerful faces stared at him from the pews. Cameras flashed. Whispers rippled through the crowd like poison. Victoria was 20 minutes late. Benjamin's best man, Daniel, leaned close. "Should I call her again?" "No." Benjamin's voice was stone, but his chest felt hollow. He knew. Somehow, he already knew. In the third row, Arya Winters sat with her hands folded in her lap, wearing a simple gray dress that made her almost invisible among the jeweled elite. She watched Benjamin with those careful brown eyes that had seen him through 3 years of board meetings and midnight crises. The way his jaw tightened, the way he glanced at the cathedral doors every few seconds, hope dying a little more each time. 30 minutes. The priest shifted uncomfortably. A woman in the front row covered her mouth. Then Benjamin's phone buzzed in his pocket. One message. 3 words. "I can't. Sorry." The cathedral went silent as Benjamin's face drained of color. He read it twice, then looked up at 200 expectant faces, at the cameras, at his mother in the front row, her perfectly composed mask cracking. "She's not coming," he said quietly. The whispers exploded into chaos. Arya stood without thinking, her heels clicking against marble as she moved through the crowd. People were already filming, posting, destroying him in real time. She reached the altar just as Benjamin turned away, his shoulders rigid with the effort of not breaking. "Mr. Cross," she said softly. He looked at her, and she saw something she'd never seen before. Raw animal pain. The kind that comes from realizing everyone was right about you, that you were always just a bank account with a heartbeat. "I need to leave," he said. "You can't." Arya glanced at the cameras, at the reporters already rushing the exits. "If you leave now, they'll tear you apart. Every headline tomorrow will be about the billionaire who couldn't buy love." "I don't care." "Yes, you do." Her voice was gentle but firm. "You've spent your whole life building something that matters. Don't let her take that too." Benjamin's hands were shaking now. "Then what do I do?" Arya looked at the priest, at the dress hanging in the bridal room, at the man who had never asked her for anything except her time and loyalty. She thought about 3 years of watching him smile for cameras and die inside during galas. 3 years of being the only person who knew he took his coffee black because it tasted like punishment he thought he deserved. She stepped closer, close enough that only he could hear. "Let me help you." "How?" Arya's heart hammered against her ribs. What she was about to say would change everything, cross every line, destroy the careful distance she'd maintained between them. "Give me 10 minutes," she whispered. Then she turned and walked toward the bridal room, leaving Benjamin standing alone at the altar, watching her disappear through the side door with something like hope flickering in his devastated eyes. The crowd murmured. Daniel stepped forward. "Benjamin, what's happening?" But Benjamin couldn't speak, couldn't move. He just stared at that door waiting. 9 minutes passed like hours. Then the cathedral's pipe organ began to play. The traditional wedding march. Every head turned toward the entrance, and Arya Winters walked down the aisle in Victoria's wedding dress. The ivory silk fit her perfectly, clinging to curves Benjamin had never noticed beneath her professional suits. Her auburn hair tumbled loose over bare shoulders. She moved with quiet grace, holding a bouquet of white roses, her eyes locked on his. The crowd gasped. Cameras exploded with light. Arya reached the altar and stood beside Benjamin, so close he could smell her perfume. "Jasmine and Rain, what are you doing?" he breathed. She turned to face him, her brown eyes steady despite the terror he could see flickering beneath. "Saving you," she whispered. "The question is, are you going to let me?" The priest looked between them, confused and horrified. Benjamin stared at Arya, this woman who had been invisible to him for 3 years, now standing in a stolen wedding dress, offering herself as a shield against his humiliation. "I can't ask you to do this," he said. "You're not asking. I'm offering." "Why?" Arya's voice was barely audible. "Because someone should choose you. Just once. Someone should choose you." Benjamin felt something crack open inside his chest. He looked at the cameras, at the crowd, at Daniel's shocked face. Then back at Arya, who stood there trembling but unwavering. He took her hand. "Okay," he whispered. The priest cleared his throat. "I don't understand what's happening." Benjamin turned to him, his voice stronger now. "We're getting married. Start the ceremony." "But this isn't the bride who was registered." "She is now." Arya's hand tightened in his. Her pulse raced beneath his thumb. The priest hesitated, then opened his book. The cathedral held its breath, and Benjamin Cross, who had everything except someone who wanted him, married his secretary in front of 200 witnesses and 100 cameras. When the priest said, "You may kiss the bride," Benjamin leaned close enough that only Arya could hear. "Thank you," he whispered against her temple. "I'll spend the rest of my life making this right for you." Arya closed her eyes as his lips brushed her forehead in a kiss that was gentle and terrified and grateful. "Don't make promises you can't keep," she whispered back, but her hand didn't let go of his. Not, even when the cameras flashed bright enough to blind them both. The penthouse was silent except for rain against floor-to-ceiling windows. Arya stood in the living room still wearing the wedding dress, her reflection ghostly in the dark glass. Manhattan glittered 40 stories below, beautiful and indifferent. Behind her, Benjamin poured whiskey with shaking hands. "The headlines are already out," he said quietly. "Billionaire's shotgun wedding after bride flees. Mystery woman saves Manhattan's most eligible bachelor." "They're calling you the secretary bride," Arya turned. Benjamin looked devastated in his rumpled tuxedo, bow tie undone, hair falling across his forehead. Nothing like the composed CEO she'd served for 3 years. "I knew what I was doing," she said. "Did you?" He set down his glass. "Because I'm not sure I did. Arya, you just married me to save me from embarrassment. That's insane. You would have done the same for me. That's different. Why? Because you're the billionaire and I'm just the secretary?" Her voice held an edge he'd never heard before. "Because my sacrifice matters less?" Benjamin flinched. "That's not what I meant." "Then what did you mean?" He crossed to her, stopping close enough that she could see the gold flecks in his hazel eyes. "I meant you deserve better than being a plot twist in my public humiliation. You deserve someone who marries you because they can't breathe without you, not because their fiancé abandoned them." Arya's throat tightened. "And Victoria? Did she deserve that?" Something dark flickered across Benjamin's face. "Don't defend her. I'm not. I'm asking why she left. Does it matter?" "It might." Benjamin turned away, jaw clenched. "She said I was empty. That living with me was like living with a ghost. That my money couldn't fill whatever was missing inside me. Was she wrong?" The question hung between them like broken glass. Benjamin's laugh was hollow. "No, she wasn't wrong. I've spent 10 years building an empire, and I don't know why. I have everything, and it means nothing. Victoria saw that. She just had the courage to run before she suffocated too." Arya moved closer. "I've worked for you for 3 years. I've never seen a ghost. I've seen someone who works until midnight because 50 families depend on the deals you close. Someone who remembers every employee's name. Someone who pretends he doesn't care but donated $10 million to children's hospitals last year anonymously. That's just guilt spending. It's empathy. It's proof you're not empty." She reached for his hand. "Benjamin, why do you hate yourself so much?" He pulled away like she'd burned him. "You don't know what you're talking about. Then tell me. Why? So you can fix me? I'm not one of your projects, Arya. No, you're my husband." The word felt strange on her tongue. Heavy. Real. Benjamin stared at her. "For how long? A week? A month? Until the media moves on and we can quietly divorce? Is that what you want?" "I want to know what you want. You just threw your life away for me and I don't even know why." Arya's hands trembled. She'd asked herself that question 100 times in the last 3 hours. Why had she done it? Why had she put on that dress and walked down that aisle? "I did it because," she started, then stopped. How could she explain 3 years of watching him, of learning his coffee order and his tells during negotiations, and the way his voice changed when he was pretending to be okay? Of falling in love so slowly she didn't realize it was happening until she was standing at that altar? "Because what?" Benjamin pressed. Before she could answer, his phone rang. He glanced at the screen and his face went white. "It's Victoria." Arya's stomach dropped. Answer it. Benjamin hesitated, then put it on speaker. Victoria's voice filled the room, honey smooth and careless. Benjamin, darling, I'm so sorry about today. Silence. Benjamin's jaw worked like he was chewing glass. I panicked. Victoria continued. Cold feet, you know. But I've had time to think, and I made a terrible mistake. I want to come home. We can fix this. You're 3 hours too late, Benjamin said, his voice dead. I'm married, Victoria laughed. To your secretary? Benjamin, please. Everyone knows that was a publicity stunt. Just file for annulment and we can pretend this whole mess never happened. Arya felt something cold settle in her chest. A publicity stunt. That's what the world thought. Maybe that's what Benjamin thought too. You left me at the altar, Benjamin said quietly. In front of 200 people. You humiliated me. And she humiliated herself by putting on my dress and playing bride. Victoria's voice turned sharp. Did you really think I wouldn't find out? That dress cost $50,000, Benjamin. I want it back. Arya looked down at the ivory silk. $50,000. More than she made in 6 months. Come get it, she said, her voice steady despite the rage burning through her. Excuse me? Victoria's tone could cut glass. You heard me. Come to the penthouse and take your dress. Right now. Unless you're too much of a coward to face what you did. Benjamin stared at Arya, something like awe in his eyes. Victoria's laugh was cruel. Oh, this is precious. The secretary thinks she has power now. Benjamin, call me when you've dealt with this situation. I'll be waiting. The line went dead. Arya turned to Benjamin. She's coming back. I know. Do you want her back? The question cost her everything to ask. Benjamin moved toward her, stopping so close she could feel the heat of him through the silk. 3 years ago, I hired you because you were efficient and quiet, and I didn't have to think about you. You were just there making my life work. Arya's eyes stung. I know what I am to you. No. His hand came up, cupping her face with surprising gentleness. You don't. Because somewhere in those 3 years, you became the only real thing in my life. The only person who sees me and doesn't look away. And today, when Victoria left, I didn't break because I lost her. I broke because I realized I've been in love with you for months, and I've been too much of a coward to admit it. Arya stopped breathing. You're lying, she whispered. I'm not. You're grateful. You're confused. You're hurt. But you're not, Benjamin kissed her. It wasn't gentle or tentative. It was desperate and real and tasted like whiskey and rain. His hands tangled in her hair, pulling her closer. And Arya felt 3 years of careful distance shatter between them. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Benjamin rested his forehead against hers. I'm a lot of things, he whispered. But I'm not confused about this. Not anymore, Arya's hands fisted in his shirt. This is crazy. I know. We barely know each other. That's not true. His thumb traced her cheekbone. You know I take my coffee black, that I can't sleep before major presentations, that I'm terrified of becoming my father. You know me better than anyone. Knowing someone's coffee order isn't the same as knowing their heart. Then let me tell you. Benjamin's voice cracked. I'm angry and lonely, and I've spent 10 years building walls so high I forgot what it felt like to let someone in. I'm a terrible bet, Arya. I'm probably going to hurt you just by being myself, but I'm also completely, desperately in love with you. And if you walk away right now, I'll understand. But I'll also spend the rest of my life regretting that I never asked you to stay. Tears spilled down Arya's cheeks. You don't mean that. Tomorrow, when this wears off, tomorrow I'll feel the same. And the day after, and the day after that. He caught her tears with his thumbs. Tell me I'm alone in this. Tell me these 3 years meant nothing to you and I'll let you go. But if there's even a chance... The elevator dinged. They both froze. The doors opened and Victoria stepped out, stunning in a black dress, her blonde hair perfect, her smile sharp as a knife. Behind her stood a man in an expensive suit, tall, silver-haired, familiar. Arya's blood turned to ice. Hello, sweetheart, the man said, looking directly at Arya. Surprised to see me? Benjamin's arm tightened around Arya. Who the hell are you? Arya's voice was barely a whisper. That's my father. The rain hammered harder against the windows. Victoria's smile was triumphant as she glided into the penthouse like she owned it. Arya's father followed, his silver hair gleaming under the recessed lights, his presence filling the room with a cold authority that made Arya's skin crawl. "Richard Winters," Benjamin said slowly, recognition dawning. "CEO of Winters Capital. You're Arya's father?" "Guilty." Richard's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Though my daughter prefers to pretend we're not related. Isn't that right, Arya?" Arya couldn't speak. Her father, here in Benjamin's home, with Victoria. The room tilted. Benjamin's hand found hers, steadying her. "What is this?" Victoria perched on the arm of the leather sofa, examining her nails. "This is me collecting what's mine. The dress first. Then we can discuss the rest." "The rest?" Benjamin's voice was dangerous. Richard moved to the bar, pouring himself whiskey like he belonged there. "Let me make this simple, Cross. My daughter has been working for you for 3 years, feeding me information about your business deals, your strategies, your vulnerabilities. Today's little performance, that was her final play. Marry you, gain access to everything, and deliver your entire empire to me on a silver platter." The words hit like physical blows. Benjamin's hand released Arya's. "That's not true," Arya whispered. "Isn't it?" Richard turned to her, his expression almost pitying. "Come now, sweetheart. Don't ruin this with sentiment. You've done exactly what I asked. You got close to him, earned his trust, made yourself indispensable. And today, when the moment came, you sealed the deal, literally." Benjamin stepped back from Arya. His face was carved from stone. "Is this true?" "No. Benjamin, I swear." "Then explain how your father knows about the Nexus merger," Richard interrupted. "The one you're announcing next week? The one you told no one about except Arya?" Benjamin's eyes went to Arya, cold and distant, betrayed. "I found the file in your briefcase," Arya said desperately. "Last month. I didn't tell anyone. I would never," "She told me," Richard said calmly. "Just like she's told me everything for 3 years. How do you think Winters Capital has stayed competitive with Cross Industries? How do you think I've anticipated your every move?" Victoria laughed. "This is delicious. Benjamin, you really are hopeless at reading people. She's been playing you from day one." "Shut up!" Arya snapped, rounding on Victoria. "You're the one who orchestrated this whole thing. You never loved him. You just wanted to break him publicly so your father could swoop in and buy his company when the stock crashed." Victoria's smile faltered, just for a second. Benjamin's voice was ice. "What did you just say?" Arya turned to him, tears streaming down her face. "Victoria's father owns Titan Media. They've been planning this for months. Tank your reputation, crash your stock price, then buy controlling interest in Cross Industries. That's why she left you at the altar. Maximum humiliation, maximum impact." "That's absurd," Victoria said, but her voice wavered. "Is it?" Arya pulled out her phone with shaking hands. "Because I have the emails. I've had them for weeks. I was trying to figure out how to tell you without destroying you further." She thrust the phone at Benjamin. He took it, his face unreadable as he scrolled through message after message between Victoria and her father, detailing the plan, timing the wedding, calculating the media impact. "You knew," Benjamin said to Arya, his voice hollow. "You knew she was going to leave me and you said nothing." "I didn't know when. I was trying to protect you. By letting me stand at that altar like a fool? By stopping you from marrying someone who wanted to destroy you." Arya's voice broke. "I was gathering evidence. I was going to show you everything tonight, after the wedding, so you'd have ammunition for the divorce. But then she actually left and you were so broken and I couldn't let them win. I couldn't let them take everything from you." Richard's laugh was cold. "Beautiful speech, darling, but you're forgetting one crucial detail." He pulled a folder from his briefcase, tossed it on the coffee table. "These are bank statements showing regular deposits into your account from one of my shell companies. $2,000 a month for 3 years. Payment for services rendered." Arya's blood froze. "Those aren't real. You forged those." "Did I? They look quite authentic to me. And they'll look authentic to the SEC when I report you and Benjamin for insider trading." Benjamin picked up the folder, flipping through pages that damned Arya with every line. His hands trembled. "Benjamin, please," Arya begged. "Look at me, you know me. You know I would never—" "I don't know anything," he said quietly. "I thought I knew Victoria. I thought I knew you. Turns out I'm just excellent at being wrong about people." "She's telling the truth," a new voice said. Everyone turned. Daniel stood in the elevator doorway, soaking wet, holding a laptop. Benjamin's best man. The one person who had been there through everything. Daniel, what are you doing here? Cleaning up your mess, again. Daniel walked to the coffee table, opened the laptop. Arya sent me files 2 weeks ago. Everything about Victoria's plan. Everything about Winters trying to frame her. She asked me to investigate quietly, to verify everything before she brought it to you. Benjamin stared at the laptop screen. Email after email from Arya to Daniel. Detailed notes. Evidence. A paper trail showing she'd been protecting Benjamin, not betraying him. Why didn't you tell me? Benjamin asked Daniel. She asked me not to. She said you had enough pressure with the wedding, and she didn't want to add to it until she was certain. Daniel looked at Richard. But I am certain now. Those bank statements are fake. I traced the accounts. They were created 3 days ago. Richard's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. Calculation. Retreat. This is ridiculous, he said smoothly. Cross, think about what you're doing. My daughter has you convinced she's some kind of hero, but she's been in my pocket from the beginning. Why else would she take a job with you? She has an MBA from Stanford. She could work anywhere, but I asked her to take a secretary position with you and she did it without question. Because she's a good daughter. Because she does what I tell her. Arya felt something inside her snap. You want to know why I took this job? She said, her voice shaking with rage. Because you told me if I didn't, you'd destroy Mom's memory. You'd sell the foundation she built, the children's charity she spent her life creating. You held her legacy hostage and you forced me to spy on Benjamin or lose the only thing I had left of her. Silence. Benjamin was staring at her like he'd never seen her before. But here's what you didn't count on, Arya continued, moving toward her father with each word. I loved her more than I feared you. So I took the job, and I fed you just enough information to keep you satisfied. But everything important, every real secret, I kept those locked down. And when I realized you were planning something with Victoria, I started building evidence. Against both of you. Richard's face darkened. You're lying, am I? Daniel, show them the file. Daniel clicked a folder on the laptop. Documents filled the screen. Proof of Richard's illegal trades, his offshore accounts, every law he'd broken in 20 years of business. I've been building this for 3 years, Arya said softly. Everything you forced me to do, I documented. Every crime you committed, I recorded. And tomorrow morning, if you don't walk out of here and disappear from my life forever, I'm sending it all to the SEC, the FBI, and every news outlet in New York. Richard's mask finally cracked. Pure hatred burned in his eyes as he looked at his daughter. You ungrateful. Get out, Benjamin said. His voice was quiet but absolute. Take Victoria and get out of my home. If I ever see either of you again, I'll make sure Arya's evidence buries you both. Victoria stood, her composure shattered. Benjamin, you're making a mistake. The only mistake I made was ever believing you loved me. Now leave before I have security throw you out. Richard grabbed Victoria's arm, pulling her toward the elevator. At the doors, he turned back to Arya. You're choosing him over your own family? Arya's voice was steady. You stopped being my family when you threatened Mom's memory. He's more family than you've ever been. The elevator doors closed on Richard's furious face. Silence filled the penthouse. Daniel cleared his throat. I should go. Give you two some privacy. He looked at Benjamin. For what it's worth? She never betrayed you, not once. After Daniel left, Benjamin and Arya stood on opposite sides of the room. The rain had softened to a whisper against glass. Why didn't you tell me? Benjamin asked finally. About your father, about Victoria, about any of it. Because you already carried so much. Because I thought I could handle it alone. Because I'm so used to protecting myself that I forgot how to let someone help me. Arya's voice cracked. I'm sorry. I should have trusted you. Benjamin moved toward her slowly. Your father held your mother's legacy hostage? For 3 years. Every day I had to choose between protecting what she built and protecting you. And every day I chose both. I fed him useless information while hiding everything that mattered. It nearly killed me. And today? At the altar? Why did you really do it? Arya met his eyes. Because I love you. Because I've loved you since the first time you asked me how my day was, and actually listened to the answer. Because you're not empty or broken or unlovable, Benjamin. You're just lonely, and so am I. And maybe two lonely people can build something real together. Benjamin closed the distance between them, his hands framing her face. I almost lost you tonight. I almost believed them. But you didn't. I wanted to. It would have been easier than believing someone could actually love me. Then believe it, Arya whispered. Believe that I walked down that aisle because I chose you, not because of duty or manipulation or sacrifice, because I wanted to, because choosing you felt like the first honest thing I've done in 3 years. Benjamin kissed her, and this time it was different, not desperate or grateful, just real, just them. When they broke apart, he rested his forehead against hers. We're married, he said softly. We are. We did it backwards. Wedding first, falling in love second. Does the order matter? No. His smile was genuine for the first time that night. I don't think it does. Arya's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and her face went white. What is it? She showed him the screen. A text from an unknown number. You think you've won, but I know something you don't. Something that will destroy everything. Watch the news tomorrow. Then decide if she's worth it. Benjamin's jaw clenched. Victoria? Or my father? Or both? Arya looked up at him, fear in her eyes. Benjamin, what if they have something? What if there's something about me that you don't know? Something that... Then we face it together, he interrupted. Whatever it is. Whatever they throw at us. We face it together. But even as he held her, Arya felt dread coiling in her stomach. Because there was something. Something she'd never told anyone. Something that, if it came out, would destroy everything she'd built. And somehow, they knew. Morning light cut through the penthouse windows like broken glass. Arya stood in Benjamin's shirt, coffee growing cold in her hands, staring at the television screen. Her face was everywhere. Every channel. Every headline. Secretary Bride's dark past revealed. Arya Winters, criminal record exposed. Did Cross Industries CEO marry a con artist? Benjamin emerged from the bedroom, phone pressed to his ear, his voice sharp as he barked orders to his legal team. When he saw the television, he ended the call abruptly. Turn it off, he said. No. Arya's voice was hollow. I need to see what they're saying. The news anchor's voice filled the room. Professional and damning, sources confirm that Arya Winters, who married billionaire Benjamin Cross in a shocking ceremony yesterday, served 2 years in juvenile detention for embezzlement and identity theft when she was 17. Court records show she stole over $200,000 from her high school scholarship fund, ruining the futures of dozens of students from low-income families. The coffee cup shattered against the floor. Benjamin was beside her in an instant, hands on her shoulders. Arya, look at me. She couldn't. She couldn't look at him and see the moment he realized he'd married someone broken beyond repair. It's true, she whispered. All of it. I did those things. I don't care. You should. She finally met his eyes. Benjamin, I stole money from kids who needed it. I destroyed their chances at college, at better lives. I'm exactly what they're saying I am. You were 17. That doesn't make it okay. Benjamin's hands tightened on her shoulders. Tell me what happened. The real story, not what they're showing on television. Arya pulled away, wrapping her arms around herself. Outside, Manhattan was waking up, indifferent to her unraveling. My father was already controlling back then. Mom was sick, cancer. The treatments were experimental, not covered by insurance. We were drowning in medical debt. My father refused to help. He said she deserved to suffer for leaving him. Her voice cracked. I was desperate. The high school I attended had a scholarship fund. I worked in the administrative office. I had access to the accounts. So you took the money. I forged signatures, created fake scholarship recipients, funneled the money to pay for Mom's treatments. $200,000 over 6 months, enough to give her another year. Arya's tears fell freely now. She died anyway. And when they caught me, my father made sure I took the full punishment. No plea deals, no mercy. 2 years in juvenile detention while he used my crime to destroy her reputation. Made sure everyone knew the woman who built a children's charity raised a thief. Benjamin was silent. Arya couldn't bear to look at him. After I got out, I changed, she continued. Spent 5 years rebuilding. Got my MBA, tried to make amends. But my father never let me forget what I'd done. When he needed leverage, he reminded me I was one public exposure away from losing everything again. That's why I took the job with you. Why I did what he asked. Because I was terrified of becoming that 17-year-old girl again. The one who destroyed lives trying to save one. Did you pay them back? Benjamin's voice was quiet. Every cent. With interest. It took 8 years, but I tracked down every student whose scholarship I stole. Made sure they got their money. Some of them forgave me. Most didn't. I don't blame them. Benjamin moved to the window, his back to her. Arya's heart shattered with each second of silence. Say something, she whispered. Please. I'm thinking. About how to minimize the damage? Your legal team is probably already drafting annulment papers. I'll sign whatever you need. I'll disappear. I'm thinking, Benjamin interrupted, turning to face her. About how you were 17 and terrified, and you made a terrible choice trying to save your mother's life. I'm thinking about how you spent 8 years paying back every penny, how you rebuilt yourself from nothing, how your father used your guilt as a weapon for a decade. He crossed to her, his eyes fierce. I'm thinking that you're the bravest person I've ever met, and I'm furious that you thought I'd abandon you for this. Arya stared at him. You're not angry? Oh, I'm angry, but not at you. At your father for exploiting a child's desperation. At a system that punished you for loving your mother. At Victoria for weaponizing your past. His hands cupped her face gently. You think this changes how I feel about you? Arya, it makes me love you more. Because you're not perfect. Because you've survived things that would have broken most people. Because you chose to become better instead of bitter. The media will destroy you for staying with me. Let them try. Your board will demand you divorce me. Your investors will run. You've spent 10 years building cross-industries, and I just... Stop. Benjamin's voice was firm. Listen to me very carefully. I don't care about the board. I don't care about the investors. I don't care about any of it if it means losing you. We'll weather this storm together. You can't mean that. I've never meant anything more in my life. His phone rang. Daniel's name flashed on the screen. Benjamin answered, putting it on speaker. Tell me you have good news, Benjamin said. I have complicated news. Daniel's voice was tense. I found the source of the leak. It wasn't Victoria or Richard. Arya felt her stomach drop. Then who? Your mother's foundation. Specifically, the current director. A woman named Margaret Chen. The name hit Arya like a punch. Margaret? But she was Mom's best friend. She helped me rebuild after I got out. She's the one who gave me a second chance. She's also the one who's been feeding information to Richard Winters for the past 5 years, including your juvenile records, which were supposed to be sealed. Why would she do that? Because Richard promised her control of the foundation if she helped him destroy you. Apparently, she blames you for your mother's death. Says if you hadn't been arrested, your mother wouldn't have died from the stress. Arya sank onto the sofa, the world tilting. Margaret. The woman who had held her while she cried at her mother's funeral, who had written her recommendation letters for college, who she'd trusted with everything. Where is she now? Benjamin asked. That's the complicated part. She's called a press conference for this afternoon. Says she has evidence that Arya has been embezzling from Cross Industries the same way she embezzled from the scholarship fund. She's going to claim Arya married Benjamin to gain access to his money. That's insane, Arya said. I've never touched a penny that wasn't mine. I know that. Benjamin knows that. But with your history, the media won't care about truth. They'll care about the story. Daniel paused. There's more. Margaret has documents. Forged ones like Richard's bank statements, but good forgeries. Good enough to trigger an SEC investigation even if they're eventually disproven. By the time you clear your name, the damage will be done. Benjamin's jaw clenched. Can we stop the press conference? Not legally. She has the right to say whatever she wants. We could threaten her with defamation. But that takes time we don't have. Arya stood abruptly. I need to talk to her. Arya, that's not... She was my mother's best friend. Maybe if I talk to her, remind her of who my mother was, what she stood for. She wants to destroy you, Daniel said gently. Talking to her won't change that. I have to try. Arya looked at Benjamin. My mother's legacy can't end like this. That foundation has helped thousands of children. If Margaret burns it down to hurt me, those kids lose everything. I can't let that happen. Benjamin studied her face. Then we go together. No, she'll use you against me. Make it about manipulation and money. I need to face her alone. Absolutely not, Benjamin. Arya took his hands. You've saved me over and over. Let me save myself this time. Let me face my past head-on instead of running from it. Trust me. The word hung between them. Trust. The thing they'd been building toward through all of this. Benjamin closed his eyes briefly, then nodded. Okay, but Daniel goes with you. And you wear a wire so I can hear everything. And if anything goes wrong, nothing will go wrong. But even as she said it, Arya knew she was lying, because Margaret Chen had spent 5 years planning this. 5 years waiting for the perfect moment to strike, and Arya had just given her the perfect opportunity. 2 hours later, Arya stood outside the children's foundation her mother had built 30 years ago. The building was modest but beautiful, filled with light and hope. A place where kids who had nothing could find everything. Margaret waited in her mother's old office, sitting behind her mother's old desk. She looked older than Arya remembered. Grayer. Harder. Hello, Arya. Margaret. Arya's voice was steady despite her racing heart. Why are you doing this? Because someone needs to stop you before you ruin another life. I'm not that person anymore. You know I'm not. Margaret stood, moving to the window. I watched your mother die, Arya. I held her hand while she wasted away. Do you know what her last words were? Arya couldn't speak. She said, "Tell Arya I forgive her. Tell her to stop punishing herself." She died forgiving you for the thing that killed her. The stress of your arrest, the shame of what you'd done, it ate her alive from the inside. And you never even apologized. I tried. She wouldn't see me. Not until the very end, because she was ashamed of you, of herself for raising someone who could steal from children. The words cut deep, but Arya held her ground. You're lying. My mother wasn't ashamed of me. She was disappointed, yes, heartbroken, but she loved me. She never stopped loving me. Love isn't enough, Arya. Love doesn't undo the damage you caused. Neither does revenge. Arya moved closer. Margaret, this isn't what Mom would want. She built this foundation to help people, not to destroy them. If you go through with this press conference, you'll tear down everything she created. I'm protecting her legacy from you. By forging documents? By working with my father? The man Mom spent her life running from? By lying to the media? Arya pulled out her phone. I have evidence, Margaret. Emails between you and my father. Bank records showing he's been paying you. If you destroy me, I destroy you right back. And then we both lose. And Mom's foundation loses. And all those kids lose. Is that really what you want? Margaret's face was stone. You're bluffing. Try me. They stared at each other across the desk. 2 women locked in a battle over a ghost's legacy. Your mother made me promise something before she died, Margaret said finally. She made me promise to protect you if you ever needed it. Even after everything you did. She made me swear it. Arya's throat tightened. Then keep that promise. I tried. For 5 years I kept your secrets. Helped you rebuild. Watched you become someone better. But then you married Benjamin Cross and I realized you haven't changed at all. You're still taking shortcuts. Still using people. Still stealing what isn't yours. I love him. You love his money. No. Arya's voice rang with truth. I love him. The man who works himself to exhaustion because he thinks he has to earn his worth. The man who remembers every employee's birthday. The man who's so terrified of being unlovable that he pushes away anyone who gets close. I love him, Margaret. The way Mom loved Dad before he destroyed her. The way she loved me even when I disappointed her. Real, complicated, imperfect love. Margaret's expression cracked slightly. Cancel the press conference, Arya said softly. Not for me. For Mom. Let her legacy be about forgiveness and second chances, not revenge and bitterness. Please. Silence stretched between them, heavy with years of pain and grief. Margaret sat down slowly. When she looked up, tears streamed down her face. She would have liked him, she whispered. You're Benjamin. She would have seen past the money and the walls. She always saw people's hearts. She would have liked you too. The you she knew. The one who wasn't consumed by anger. I miss her so much. So do I. They sat together in her mother's office. 2 women grieving the same ghost, trying to find a way forward. I'll cancel the press conference, Margaret said finally. But Arya, you have to face the media eventually. You have to tell your story. Your real story. Not the headlines. Not the narrative your father created. Your truth. I know. And you have to mean it when you say you've changed. Because if you hurt Benjamin the way you hurt those students, I won't. I promise. Margaret studied her for a long moment, then nodded. Your mother would be proud of you for facing this, for fighting for something real. Arya stood to leave, then paused at the door. Margaret? Thank you for keeping Mom's promise. I almost didn't, but you did. That's what matters. Outside, Benjamin waited by the car, his face tight with worry. When he saw Arya, relief flooded his features. Did it work? It worked. She fell into his arms, exhausted and grateful. She canceled the press conference. Then it's over. Not quite. Arya pulled back to look at him. I need to tell my story publicly. Address my past head-on. It's the only way to take the power away from people like my father and Victoria. You don't have to do that alone. I know, she smiled through tears. You'll be right there with me. But Benjamin, if this destroys your company, if the board forces you out, then we'll start over. Build something new. Together. He kissed her forehead. I meant what I said, Arya. I don't care about any of it without you. Even if I'm the secretary bride with a criminal record? Especially then. His smile was soft. Because you're also the woman who walked down an aisle to save me, who faced her father's manipulation with courage, who turned her mistakes into reasons to be better. You're everything, Arya, don't you see that? She did. Finally, she did. They drove back to the penthouse as the sun set over Manhattan, painting the sky in shades of gold and amber. Tomorrow they would face the media. Tomorrow they would tell their truth. Tomorrow the world would judge them. But tonight, they were just two broken people who had found each other in the wreckage of their separate storms. Two people learning that love didn't require perfection, just honesty and courage and the willingness to keep choosing each other even when the whole world said they shouldn't. And that, Arya thought as Benjamin's hand found hers, was enough. The press conference room blazed with lights. 50 journalists, 100 cameras. The entire world watching as Benjamin Cross and Arya Winters walked to the podium hand in hand. Arya wore a simple black dress, her hair pulled back, her face bare of makeup except for the dark circles under her eyes. She looked exhausted and real and human. Beside her, Benjamin stood in a dark suit, his presence steady and unwavering. The room fell silent. Arya stepped to the microphone. Her hands trembled, but her voice was clear. My name is Arya Winters. When I was 17 years old, I stole $200,000 from my high school scholarship fund to pay for my mother's cancer treatments. I was caught. I was convicted. I served 2 years in juvenile detention. She paused, letting the words settle. What you've read in the headlines is true, but it's not the whole truth. She told them everything, about her father's cruelty, about her mother's illness, about the desperation that drove a teenage girl to commit a crime she would spend a decade trying to atone for, about the 8 years she spent tracking down every student she'd hurt and repaying what she'd stolen. I'm not asking for forgiveness, she said. What I did was wrong. It hurt people. It destroyed trust. No amount of explanation changes that. But I want you to understand that people are more than their worst moments. We're also every moment that comes after. Every choice we make to be better. Every action we take to repair what we've broken. She looked at Benjamin. He nodded, encouraging her to continue. 3 days ago, I married Benjamin Cross. Not because I wanted his money. Not because my father was blackmailing me. But because I loved him. Because he was kind to me when he had no reason to be. Because he saw past my professional mask to the person underneath. Because when I walked down that aisle in a wedding dress that wasn't mine, I was choosing the first honest thing I'd done in 3 years of living under my father's control. A reporter raised her hand. Ms. Winters, how do you respond to allegations that you've been embezzling from Cross Industries? They're false. I've never stolen from Benjamin or his company. My financial records are available for independent audit. Every penny I've earned, I've accounted for. Arya's voice strengthened. My father and his associates have created forged documents to destroy my credibility because I refuse to help them destroy Benjamin's company. They're using my past as a weapon because they know it's the one thing I can't defend without looking guilty. Mr. Cross, another reporter called out, are you staying married to Ms. Winters despite her criminal record? Benjamin moved to the microphone. I'm staying married to Arya because of who she is now, not who she was at 17. Because she's spent every day since her mistake trying to make things right. Because she's the most honest person I know, even when honesty costs her everything. He looked directly into the cameras. We all have pasts. We've all made choices we regret. The measure of a person isn't their worst day. It's what they do with all the days that come after. But don't your shareholders deserve better than... My shareholders deserve a CEO who understands that people are complex, that redemption is possible, that second chances aren't weaknesses. They're proof of strength. Benjamin's voice was steel. If they can't accept that, they can sell their shares. I'm not apologizing for loving my wife. The word hung in the air. Wife, not secretary, not convenient cover story. Wife, a senior reporter from the Wall Street Journal stood. Mr. Cross, there are rumors your board is calling for an emergency meeting to remove you as CEO. Any comment? Let them try. Benjamin's smile was sharp. I built Cross Industries from nothing. I know every contract, every relationship, every strategic advantage we have. If they want to remove me, they can. But they'll lose everything I bring to the table. And they know it. Is that a threat? It's reality. Business isn't just about money. It's about trust, relationships, vision. Things that can't be replaced by a board vote. Another reporter shouted a question. Ms. Winters, do you regret marrying Mr. Cross? Arya met Benjamin's eyes. In them, she saw everything they'd survived together. The altar, the betrayals, the secrets, the choice to keep choosing each other. No, she said simply. I don't regret it for a second. Even though it's destroyed your reputation? My reputation was built on hiding, on pretending to be someone I wasn't. If telling the truth destroys that, then good. I'd rather be honest and hated than fake and accepted. The questions continued, relentless and brutal, but Arya and Benjamin stood together, answering each one with an honesty that slowly shifted the room's energy. Some reporters remained skeptical. Others began to soften, seeing not a scandal, but two people trying to navigate an impossible situation. Finally, Benjamin raised his hand. One more question. Then we're done. A young reporter in the back stood. What happens now? Where do you go from here? Arya and Benjamin looked at each other, and something unspoken passed between them. An understanding. A promise. Forward, Arya said. We go forward. They left the press conference to a storm of flashing cameras and shouted questions. Outside, Daniel waited by the car. The board meeting is in an hour, he said quietly. They're voting on your position. Benjamin nodded. Let them vote. Benjamin, you could lose everything. No. He pulled Arya closer. I could lose the company. That's not everything. At the Cross Industries headquarters, the boardroom was packed. 12 members sat around the polished table, their faces carved from granite. Benjamin entered with Arya at his side, and the temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Mr. Cross, the chairman said coldly. Ms. Winters was not invited to this meeting. She's my wife. She stays. This is highly irregular. So is calling a vote to remove the CEO who's tripled your stock value in 5 years. But here we are. Benjamin sat at the head of the table, Arya beside him. Let's get this over with. The chairman cleared his throat. Benjamin, we've built this company together, but your recent actions have jeopardized everything. Marrying your secretary without vetting her background. The media circus. The scandal. Our shareholders are panicking. Our stock is down 15%. We can't afford what? Benjamin interrupted. The truth? Compassion? Basic human decency? We can't afford a CEO who prioritizes his personal life over the company. My personal life is my business. It has no impact on my ability to run this company. The market disagrees. The press disagrees. Your own employees are questioning your judgment. Benjamin stood, his voice cutting through the room. Let me be very clear. I built this company when I was 22 years old, with nothing but an idea and determination. I've made you all wealthy beyond measure. I've created thousands of jobs. I've revolutionized how the world connects digitally. And now you want to remove me because I married someone you consider beneath me? We want to remove you because you've become a liability. Then vote. But know this, if you remove me, I take my patents, my relationships, and my vision with me. I'll start a competitor tomorrow that will make Cross Industries irrelevant within 2 years. Or you can accept that I'm human, that I made a choice that has nothing to do with my ability to lead this company, and we move forward together. Your call. The boardroom was silent. The chairman looked around the table, seeing the calculation in every face. The cost-benefit analysis. The risk assessment. All in favor of removing Benjamin Cross as CEO? 3 hands rose. 3 out of 12. Motion fails. The chairman's face was unreadable. But Benjamin, consider this a warning. One more scandal, one more misstep, and we won't hesitate. Understood. Outside the boardroom, Arya exhaled shakily. That was too close. But we survived. For now. Benjamin, they're right. I'm a liability. Maybe we should consider... Don't. Benjamin turned her to face him. Don't you dare suggest we pretend this didn't happen. Don't suggest we divorce or separate or any other way of erasing what we have. I'm done pretending, done hiding, done apologizing for choosing you. Even if it costs you everything, it won't. But even if it did, yes. Even then. He pulled her close, his forehead resting against hers. I spent 32 years building walls and collecting things I didn't need, because I was terrified of being alone. And then you walked down that aisle and I realized I'd rather lose everything and have you than have everything and lose you. Arya's tears fell freely. I love you. God help me, I love you so much it terrifies me. Good. Be terrified with me. We'll figure it out together. They stood in the hallway of the company Benjamin had built, holding each other while the world tried to tear them apart and refused to let go. 6 months later, the penthouse was different, softer, lived in. Arya's books filled the shelves beside Benjamin's tech manuals. Her coat hung next to his by the door. Their lives had merged in 100 small ways that made the space feel like a home instead of a showroom. Arya sat at the kitchen island, reviewing foundation documents. Margaret had stepped down as director, and Arya had taken her place, rebuilding her mother's legacy into something stronger. The scandal had faded, replaced by stories of the work the foundation did, the lives it changed. Benjamin emerged from his office, loosening his tie. How was the board meeting? Productive. We're opening 3 new centers next year, Chicago, Seattle, and Atlanta. Arya looked up, smiling. How was yours? Exhausting. But we closed the Nexus deal. Stock's up 20%. The board is starting to remember why they kept me around. Because you're brilliant and ruthless and secretly a softie? Secretly. He moved behind her, his hands on her shoulders. What are you working on? Scholarship applications. We have 500 this year. I can only fund 200. Fund them all. Benjamin, we can't afford... I can. Transfer from my personal account. Call it a donation. He kissed her temple. Your mother would have wanted every kid to have a chance. Arya turned in her seat, looking up at him. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. She pulled him down for a kiss, deep and grateful, and full of the love they'd built from ruins and secrets and second chances. When they broke apart, Benjamin sat beside her, picking up one of the applications. A 17-year-old girl from the Bronx, single mother, working 3 jobs to support her family, dreaming of medical school. This one, he said quietly. Fund this one first. She reminds me of you. I stole from kids like her. And now you're saving them. That's the whole point, Arya. Redemption isn't about erasing the past. It's about using it to build a better future. Arya leaned her head on his shoulder, feeling the steady beat of his heart. Outside, Manhattan glowed with life, indifferent and beautiful. Inside, they'd built something real from the wreckage of their separate storms. Do you ever regret it? She asked softly. That day at the altar, letting me walk down that aisle. Benjamin was quiet for a moment. I regret a lot of things. The years I wasted being lonely. The walls I built. The time I lost with you because I was too blind to see what was right in front of me. He tilted her face up to meet his eyes. But marrying you? That's the one thing I'll never regret. Not even for a second. Even though I came with baggage and scandal and a criminal record, especially because of that. You taught me that people are more than their worst moments. That love isn't about perfection. It's about choosing each other every day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. He kissed her softly. You saved me, Arya. Not just that day at the altar. Every day since. We saved each other. Yeah, we did. They sat together in the home they'd built. 2 broken people who had found wholeness in each other's cracks and knew that whatever came next, they would face it together. Because that's what love was. Not the fairy tale. Not the perfect moment. But the choice to stay, to fight, to rebuild, to believe that two people could take their shattered pieces and create something beautiful, and they had. Against all odds, against all expectations, against everything the world said was possible, they had built something real, something lasting, something worth every sacrifice they'd made to get there. Benjamin Cross and Arya Winters, the billionaire and the secretary, the man who thought he was unlovable and the woman who thought she was irredeemable, had found in each other exactly what they'd been searching for all along. Not perfection, not redemption, but acceptance, understanding, a love that saw all their flaws and chose them. Anyway, and in the end, that was the only thing that mattered. The end.